Undercover boss buys a sandwich at his own diner, stops cold when he hears two. Cashiers. Jackson pushed open the glass door. The smell of smoked meat still lingered sweet and sharp, but it no longer felt like home. His coat was worn at the edges, his cap pulled low. No one looked twice. Behind the counter, Marina chewed her gum jaw, clicking loud. She yawned, eyes half closed, and barked a flat. Next, Kendall hunched over his phone, thumbs tapping, never lifting his head. At the far booth, an old man tapped his empty glass, waiting. No one moved. His hand tapped again, slower this time. Still nothing. Ethan, the youngest, shuffled past with a tray trembling in his hands. A voice snapped at him, sharp, careless, sending him back for something he hadn't forgotten. His ears burned red. Near the door, a young customer shook his head, turned, and walked out. The bell rang once. Silence swallowed it whole. Kendall smirked. Another one. Won't tip anyway. Marina laughed through her gum. Ghost. Boss. Probably sipping cocktails somewhere while we do the real work. Jackson stood still. The food still smelled the same, but the soul had gone sour. No one knew. No one cared. Jackson grew up in a small town where the roads cracked under summer heat and winters bit through thin coats. Money was scarce, sometimes too scarce for bread on the table. But hunger was not what he remembered most. He remembered the kitchen. Ellie, his grandmother, ruled that kitchen like a steady drum. Her hands smelled of flour. Her apron carried the perfume of onions, butter, and smoke. She would press dough into his small palms and whisper, "Food is more than filling stomachs, Jack. It's how you tell people they still matter." The sound of her knife against the cutting board was his childhood clock. Chop, chop, chop. Steady, patient. The scent of bread rising filled the air with hope. Even on days when bills piled and doors stayed shut, the kitchen glowed warm. Jackson carried those scents like hidden treasure. Through school, through long shifts, sweeping floors, and hauling boxes, he saved coins in a tin can under his bed. Every dollar felt like kindling for a fire he hadn't lit yet. At 20, he bought a second-hand smoker from a flea market. Rusted edges, one leg shorter than the others. But to him it was a throne. He dragged it into his driveway, laid out meat marinated with Ellie's recipe, and lit the first flame. The smoke curled upward, sharp and sweet, into the neighborhood. Children followed their noses. Neighbors leaned over fences. Plates emptied faster than he could fill them. One old man wiped sauce from his beard and said, "Son, this tastes like my childhood." That sentence burned brighter than the coals. Jackson realized he wasn't just cooking. He was keeping something alive, something Ellie had planted in him long before he could name it. The first fire in that dented smoker became the first heartbeat of a dream. Not just to sell food, but to build a place where strangers might feel remembered. Jackson borrowed $200 more than he had ever dared to owe, and rented a corner space no bigger than a garage. The walls peeled, the pipes groaned, but to him it was holy ground. On the front he nailed a piece of scrap wood hand-painted in crooked white letters, Ellie's Grill. The name carried more weight than the bricks themselves. Nights bled into mornings. He would fry bacon with one hand, flip cornbread with the other, then rush out front to clear tables before the plates cooled. Sweat stung his eyes, but he smiled through it. Every order felt like proof that the dream could stand. Some nights he fell asleep sitting upright on a chair apron. Still tied, the scent of grease thick in his hair. But even exhaustion tasted sweet when he woke to the sound of a customer knocking on the glass. One afternoon, Ellie herself walked in, leaning on her cane, eyes sweeping the room. She saw her grandson bent over the grill, hair damp with heat, laughter still in his voice. She smiled and said softly, "You're watering a good seed, Jack. Don't stop." And he didn't. Word spread faster than flyers ever could. First the mailman, then the barber, then families carrying plastic bags home with the scent trailing behind them. The smoke rose like a beacon winding through the streets, curling into every open window. Soon regulars filled the stools, calling each other by name. The air tasted of hickory and hope. The grill was more than hot metal. It was the fire of a family's recipe kept alive through grit and kindness. And from that little corner, Ellie's grill began to grow, not from money, but from love that people could smell before they even stepped inside. One evening, a man lingered outside the diner window. His clothes hung loose, his face gaunt, his eyes tired and hollow. When Jackson opened the door, the man lowered his head. "Sir, I haven't eaten in 2 days. I can't pay. I just need something warm."